Well, hello, everybody. Welcome on in to our Projector Musings of the Week with Katie and Jen. We just are here to talk all things human design. That is our passion. We are both analysts. If you want to dive deeper and get a personalized reading, reach out to us. This is what we do. This is our life. And we thought it would be fun to come on today and talk about our energy and how we're wired just naturally everybody wants to be in alignment. What does that mean? Well, when you look at like a body graph, like I'll just show you so you can kind of see, this is kind of like your genetic code of how you're hardwired. And when you look at it, you can see you've got, where you've got color, that's where your life force is focused and activated. Well, how do all of those energy centers and all of that energy kind of sync up? And that really can give you some good clues into how your energy is designed to navigate life, right? And whether you are one of those beings that has this energy that can just go from, idea to movement, right? And just go out there and do and build and create and make it happen versus some of us, we have a split in between different energy centers. So it takes us some time for everything to sync up, and we might need a little more time, to really get clear on things, or to, maybe wait until we feel like our environment is inviting us in, before we commit our energy. Otherwise, we've all been in that situation where, like, you feel like you're the one that has to speak up in the group, right? You got to like, I need to be contributing or something. And then when you do, it's all wrong, and it, you can sense it, but like, you don't know what else to do. Well, this is what's nice about human design, is it gives you like that deeper understanding so that you can really be in mind, body, spirit alignment. So Jen, like, why don't you kick us off? Like, break down the difference between to do or to wait in human design.
Girl, Katie, it's just fun to be on here with you. I just want to talk about ours a little bit.
Yeah.
So people, because it's subtle. It's not
So subtle.
it's subtle. This is a metaphysical, auric, energetic, like details that we're discussing that allow us to feel into the timing of the universe and the timing of the environment, to know our place. And when we know ourselves well enough, we can trust the timing, and then we can do, or we know when to wait and be. I like to say be.
Yeah.
What are you, Katie? Can you explain what your
Well,
design?
that's kind of cool. If we use us, we're perfect examples, because I'm what's considered a single definition. So like, if you just look at the way that my energy is, turned on, I've got, these three energy centers, and you can see that there's channels that are kind of connecting all of these. So there's like a very succinct energy circuit, that's flowing, that's turned on, that's activated. And with you, Jen, you're split. So do you have your chart maybe to?
We'll say yours, if we think about yours is head, ajna, throat. So the single definition means you have direct access from your questions to your answers, to being able to speak about them or write about them or manifest that. And then, the motors, and down here is waiting. It's open, it's waiting and sensing and being with the world. So single definitions, it's interesting how to, I don't even know how to say it, because I am a split. Can you say how that feels? I mean, you don't know how it is to be a split.
Right,
So,
right. One thing I've learned, because you summarized the way my energy works so well, I'm considered a mental projector, right? All of my energy is kind of focused up here. And so I could spend all day in my own little world, right, in my head, just having, conversations and, figuring things out. And so when I make up my mind, like you said, questions come in, and I think about it, and I come up with whatever the answer is, even if it might not be right, but it's my answer, right? And then I can very easily and quickly move from that to expressing it out. where, if say maybe my head and my ajna were connected, but then, my throat was open, and then, maybe I had some, energy, in other centers, there might be like this pause between you coming up internally with like, okay, I think I figured it out. And then like you go to express it, but then you're kind of like, wait, okay, how am I going to say this so that other people can understand it? There's like a little pause, there's a little disconnect. Because when you look at your chart, and you'll see, it'll show, let's see, is it it's like the third thing down, it'll say definition. When you have a single definition in your chart, your energy centers are all synced up, they're all flowing. And so single definition people can, tend to be a little more self-sufficient in making decisions. They, maybe don't need to collaborate with other people as much. It's just more of an internal process. Even in relationships, like they might be more independent because, everything's kind of syncing up and running. And so it kind of works like internally and quickly, and so they can just kind of, okay, that I've got that choice made, and, I'm going to move on to the next thing, where, why don't
Let me
you
say, wait, this part. The trouble is, because that sounds so
Trouble is-
good. Everyone would want to be a single definition by that. You know what I mean?
Well, it sounds great, but, sometimes, you could, I don't know, stubborn might not be the right word, but, instead of wanting to maybe collaborate with other people and bring in other ideas and other ways of seeing it and doing it, to really make sure, it is like the right choice, right? Like you just do it so quickly and internally that you don't get to have, that chance. I learned so much in my conversations, right, with friends, and people will maybe reflect something back to you, and you hadn't even thought about that, but you'd already figured it out in your mind, so yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I think, singles might have a little envy of, split definitions, because they are such collaborative people, and then like vice versa. And it is interesting because when you look, like when you break down by population, it is about 50-50, like 50% of the people on the planet are single definition, and 50% or some kind of split definition. And I remember reading, the founder of human design was saying, if we didn't have split definition people, we wouldn't procreate, like you just have a bunch of people walking around going, I don't need anybody else. Like I'm good, So I'm
Well,
like,
yeah, the challenge to me, I like to bring up the good and the bad so that people don't feel bad about their design. Because our job to me is to go, how's your design? And what are those gifts? And how can you wake up to the challenges? And so everything has good and bad. So, and bad, and those are weird words anyway, but everything has challenges and gifts. But to me, the singles, and like I said, I'm not one, other than when the transits come through, sometimes I can feel like a single.
okay.
Where,
And explain what the transits are, just in case.
yeah, well, the stars are moving all the time. The stars and the planets are moving all the time, shining on us and lighting up those gates that we have missing or not in our chart. And so where you're split or I'm split, when a planet lights that up, I can, if I'm really clued in, I can sense, oh, I have access to all my stuff. I have access. I'm just wondering, Katie, just brainstorming, so the planets are still moving, the transits are moving. You may have definition when the sun and earth are in somewhere else that would split. It doesn't split your birth definition, but you may have some life force at a different part that you can use then.
Yeah.
Does that make you a split? Does that make you feel like a split, do you think?
It's so subtle in the way that, some people might be like, okay, wait, so what, if the planets are all moving and swirling, like, how does that really like impact me? Like, really? But, every, as above, so below, right? We're so part of the universe. I mean, we are made from stardust, right? We're made, from the earth, right? Bones and flesh and whatnot combined with consciousness, that each of, the planets, if you will, are like a conglomeration of all of these neutrinos, which are the smallest particle. They're smaller than an atom. They actually found that these neutrinos that move throughout, you know, the universe at any given time, they move through us. And they, you know, they contain consciousness, they contain information, like Jen's saying, you know, depending on where they are at in the sky, you know, that will be the information that they have. And so as they move through us, they imprint us, they influence us very subtly, but it's just kind of like that background frequency, right? So, you know, sometimes you go through a week and like, for some reason, you'll have like the same kind of situation, or, you know, something you keep bumping up against, you know, and it's like the third time that week, you're like, why is like, you know, being, why am I so emotional this week or something like that? And when you start to really get into the science of it and you start to study, you know, like, wow, okay, well, if I go and I look, you know, like now there's, you know, some gates or some energy that's activating, you know, everybody's emotional system. And so that's a really good point. You know, it depends, you know, I had read and, you know, just in talking to people, a lot of times, you know, the more open energy types like projectors and reflectors maybe can sense this really subtle energy shift a little easier than maybe some of the generator types. They are focused more on, you know, putting their energy outward instead of really, you know, just focusing on taking it in and like you said, being. But yeah, I would love to hear like if anybody watching has a comment, an opinion on that, because I think that it's something anybody can learn to do. And it is a gift when you can tap into what the energy, what the background frequency is, you know, for the day, for the week, whatever, and use it to harness the energy in the right way, in a productive way, right? You know, like
Well, you say, yeah, I mean, as a metaphor, if you're a surfer and you're in the ocean, you're that surfer with that surfboard. But the transits could make the waves, you know, bigger or make the wind blow harder.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
going to change your ride, but you're still imprinted with that original blueprint. So sorry, I think I interrupted you, Katie, but I just had this like, whoa.
No, that was good. That was good. I love it. I love it because it is true, you know, and it's like, why do you act maybe a certain way one week or one day and then you act completely different like another day? You know, sometimes do you do that? Like I do that where I'm like, where did it come from? Like what even made me focus on that today, you know? And it's like now that I am more aware of like the subtle energies, you'd be surprised how many times you go and you look at, you know, kind of like the influencing transiting, you know, planets and you know, like kind of like a full moon, right? You know, like
Yeah,
that's
right.
an easy one because that does, nobody
Yeah.
can deny. Like I have several friends that are like ER nurses and they are like clockwork when it comes to full moon, like a day before, the day of, the day after, like the ER is just full of crazy stuff because, you know, it's influencing people, right? It's making, you
It's
know,
it's influencing our water though. If we are 70% water and the moon can affect the tides of the earth, how can it not, the planets or the moon be not affecting us? It's just, but
totally.
let's go back to singles and splits.
Yeah.
What do
So okay. So we talked about single.
I also want to just say singles, Ra used to say singles, the problem usually can be that everyone, without knowing human design, everyone thinks that everyone else is the same. So
hmm,
you as a single would think, why aren't they answering so quickly? Why are they having what? Because you do, because you're quick and you're connected. You're like, wait a minute, why aren't you? And so there can be a judgmental, like, hello, when everyone is so different. You know, it's like, I think I've said this before, that singles are RVs. Or, you know, that tool that has everything built into it.
the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, kind of like that. It has 36 tools built into it. You don't need other people's tools to access your own definition. Not all of the other stuff, but to access your own definition. That's interesting. And as a split, I have a simple split, meaning I just need one. So I have this connected to here, And then, it's not connected. And then this connected to here. So this one gate is going to be, it's going to be like attract, it's gate 21. It's going to attract people and situations. So I get to really learn about myself.
And how
And
does that feel?
yeah, it's true, man.
Is
It's the
it?
gate of control. So it's been fascinating my whole life that way.
Well, give us an example. Like, do you attract controlling people, or do you want to control other
Yes.
people? Okay.
Both are true.
Well, they're
It's
true, because it's the
both
full
are true.
spectrum. Yeah.
Right. Because it's white, whether it's a center or a gate or a channel, we protect that as babies. We're protected. We're not, it's sometimes on, sometimes off. So we're unsure about that and we defend there. And when it's that fragile of a place, like the split, it's protected. And so in that, I'll be defensive there, making me controlling and take things personally there probably. But I'm pulling in situations that make me practice knowing who I am and becoming aware and less judgmental. So yeah, it's been a juicy one for me. So look on your charts, you guys. If you have a simple split, that means just one gate would attach your one part of your definition to another part of your definition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's not at all about to doing or to waiting. Honestly, those are about splits. But the next split is a wide split that takes either a center or two or more gates. And what happens then? That center is really the sensitive thing. So I think I have a picture of that right here, Maureen. Yeah. And so what does that mean? It takes just a little more time. It's going to take, I'm not going to show the name, but see, she has a definition on top
Mm-hmm.
and definition on the bottom. So she's going to need
Multiple gates. Yeah.
Yeah. A gate here and a gate here to get to her throat. But she needs a lot of others,
Outside influence.
other people, outside influence, right? To access her emotional and her root. That doesn't mean she can make decisions, but it may just take a little bit longer for her, but she needs it with people. So I have a couple people who are songwriters, and one has access to his heart, to his throat, like all three channels.
Oh, wow.
And the other one is an open throat. They're both generators, but the one I go, you're not a co-writer. You need to write your own heart. And the other one, you need to write your songs with the world. You have the voice of the world. Anyway, it's how they do it. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. I mean, that's what it makes you and I love, human design and what we do, because it's like, when you can realize that it's not, our power is not in being just like everybody else and like blending in and, then life will be okay. Right. No, we're realizing like our power lies in our difference. We are all here very uniquely designed in very different ways. Right. And when you create that natural alignment of your energy, like just your subconscious, your 90% of what you're taking in at any given time, your nervous system is taking in, is unconscious to you, right? But it's doing its thing, your mind's doing its thing, and your physical, body's doing its thing, your energy's doing its thing. But when you can kind of synchronize these, that's when you start to go, wow, man, I'm feeling in the flow. People are coming to me going, wow, you were just glowing. Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you all lit up? And it's like, I'm not doing anything because I'm a projector. So I'm designed to be, right? But what I have done is I've aligned my energy field so that it is kind of on point, and I have the full support of, whatever the background frequency, everything kind of working in the same direction, instead of like, your body's telling you to do one thing, you're not listening to it because our minds, we've got trained, they override everything, right? Nope. I don't care if you don't want to get up and go to the gym, you go to the gym, or, whatever it is. And so you've got this kind of resistance that's always going on in your body. And, it creates frustration. It creates just, all the things, anger and bitterness and all of it. And so why don't do you want to go into just so people understand what the difference is between to do and to be?
I do. I want to just address triple split and quad split real quick before we do that. And I don't have the charts right up, but a triple split means you have 3 separate areas of definition. And it takes a gate on each one or more to connect you all up. And so they have, there we go. Look, there's head to the throat, and then there's heart to the sacral, and then there's root to the emotional system. So
these are more rare, most people, it's like you said, a simple or a little bit of a wide split. But when you get into like a triple split, because you can see, I just wanted to point out, like this is a lot of definition, right? Look at how much is lit up in this chart.
Hey, but Katie, for that person, are the gates that connect up their centers more vulnerable, or the centers for that person?
Triples are interesting because then it is a bit about the centers, because there are so many different gates that you're working with.
Yeah.
So like in this chart, there's only 2 open centers where she's receiving, right? Instead of anywhere you've got color and life force, you're like the transmitter. This is what you're here, to the energy you're here to put in the room, right? This is how you are influencing other people. Where the white is, you're open, you're the receptor, you're receiving that energy from the outside. And it's interesting because this person, the open heart, this really, really hit home for her. And she said that's been, like you said, kind of a theme, a pattern, life lesson that she has been working around and through with herself and with all of her relationships. So the center for sure. And the thing too, when you get to most of the time, by the time you get to a quadruple split, like these are very rare, because these are usually people that have pretty much every single center defined. I mean, wow. You like when you guys looked at mine at the very beginning, just to compare, like, okay, all the, energy defined, look at how much openness there is in my design.
Yeah.
Person really doesn't have a lot of room, to where they're taking in and learning about life. They're really here to be transmitting out, and influencing other people. And
although they do have to breathe in those channels and gates that are white, that is where it is, but it's just not as, it's not a big wide open window. It's probably, or a door, it's more cracked.
Yeah. But like the quad split that I just put up, she admits like it can be hard sometimes, to find that, like you said, it is like a little crack, to find that space. And for the triple and the quadruple splits, you guys do really well when you're making bigger decisions or commitments of your energy, to be in an open environment where you can access there's other people, because that will give you, like Jen was saying, those little hanging gates of, genetic activation that will turn those on for you. Chances are, like go to a Starbucks, or like I have a friend that is a quadruple split. She loved yoga so much. She became a yoga instructor because she said, I just found like being in a space where there's other people, but I'm still in my own space. I'm in my own mind. I'm working through stuff. It's not like you necessarily have to, like collaborate, but she just found like her energy flowed better. She was able to have clear decisions, and things like that. Even walking like in a park or something, where you've got people that you're kind of moving through and interacting with, but you still have that quietness of the mind. That is huge, when you start getting into some of those more technical split situations.
I love that, because when you let people know their design and they go, I didn't know why I needed the strangers. I don't want to talk to anybody, but I needed to be around people. They don't know why, but it's such a relief to give
Well,
them
you don't
permission.
think anything's wrong with you. Like your whole life, you're like, why
Yeah,
can't I just, you know, do it
yeah,
this way like everybody else? And that's what is cool about this, because it's not like it tells you any earth shattering, like, oh my God, like I never would have known that about myself necessarily. But it gives you kind of this language, right? This frame of reference of like, oh, that's why I do like that. Or, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to beat myself up about that anymore, because that's actually what makes me unique. And that's a strength of mine that not everybody can bring to a dynamic, you know, like, gosh, I mean, you know, when somebody like this walks in the room, I mean, everybody, I don't care what you're doing, you're going to stop and you're just naturally going to notice that person, because like their energy is what's coming into the room, you know? So it's cool, you know, when you start to really understand and embody yourself fully.
I love that. We have to go. We're gonna have to do or to wait next time. And I just want to say one thing about it.
Yeah.
So even though Katie is a single definition, because there isn't a motor to the throat, she's waiting. She's waiting. She's waiting or being for timing, for a little more information, for the right wave. So she's waiting. So if there's a motor to the throat, like me too, I don't have a motor to the throat. I'm waiting. I'm being and letting it come to me. If you have a motor to the throat, whatever part of your design has that motor to the throat, in that part, you're designed to do. Let's see, Katie.
I'm just going to point out the energy motors, there's 9 energy centers.
Yeah, but there's no way, there's no motor to the throat on that one.
These, and then the heart.
Right.
So just so people know, if you're looking at your
Yeah.
own chart,
But see how there's
tell you, I was just going to say, the way you described my design is I've learned, you know, my energy is precious. And because I do work on my energy every day, you know, like it's a huge part of who I am, right? And so I've learned to be so much more discerning. So it's not like, oh, wah, wah, I gotta like just sit on my thumbs and like wait for somebody else. No, it's realizing that what I have to say is very impactful and valuable. I mean, I'm not bragging. It just is, you know, like I've done the work, I've done the research, I've, you know, studied, you know, human design for what has it been, 5 years for us now? You know, so I'm confident in what I have to say and my openness and taking people in. I can really read people and I can really help people, but not everybody's in a place where they're ready or wanting to hear it, or, you know, there's all these different reasons. So I might have the best intentions, but if I, you know, just call Jen up and go, Jen, listen, you need to know this about yourself and blah, blah, blah. She might be like, who the heck are you? I didn't even ask you, like, screw you. You know what I mean? So like, what I've realized over time is, you know, when I focus on me, I focus on my energy and being in the highest expression of my energy, and let people come to me when they're ready, they will come, right? They will ask me. I'm a mentor here, you know, to give people answers and ideas and, you know, inspiration. And that way they are open, they are ready. And then we can have this beautiful dialogue and interaction. And that's when we're talking about like how to get in the flow. That's what we're talking about, you know? So, I mean, for you, I don't know, what does waiting for you feel like? Because you're a splenic projector, you're wired differently.
Yeah, for me, waiting, I just had to come to grips with that not being a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I like the term being better. I'm being, and I'm allowing it to come to me. And it's humbling. It's humble because we're so conditioned to go to it. And I was taught by a manifestor mother, you know, conditioned by a manifestor mother. So to do,
Yeah.
take a pill, fix it, do, you know, like what? So it's interesting. I just think it's something to ponder on, that if you have a split, or if you don't have a motor to the throat, is what it is. Feel what it feels like to wait or to be. Like a flower is not passively, you know, like you went waiting. It's being, it's shining, it's
That's what draws the bee in, right?
That's right. The bees are doing. The bees are flower, 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 and that's how their process works. So wherever you have a motor to the throat, you're designed to do there. Even if you're a triple split and you just have one of the 3 areas, you're designed to do in that area. And the other 2 have to wait. So it's simple that way. But I think that's the original voice, was just to do or to wait. And then Ra came in with the types, an easier way to maybe, explain all that. But
Yeah, for people to understand on a big level. But I
Yeah.
know this stuff, human design, it goes deep, like, I mean, you're getting into, ancient science mixed with quantum physics and genetics. And so it can be overwhelming. And there's just so much information to glean and so many little nuggets, of wisdom on how to just perfect yourself so you can live your best life, like we only get so much time here, right? Well, instead of beating your head against the wall, wondering why things aren't going the right way, the way that, your dreams that they're supposed to go, come, dive into human design. And, if you guys have questions, like throw them out there in the comments, what have you. And we are here to answer them. And in fact, it would be fun, like maybe one time a month or something, to just dedicate like our show, to anybody that has questions about their chart, or, maybe we could read a chart, right? And just that way it would help you.
5-minute readathon, we look at a chart for 5 minutes. Ding.
Yeah.
I would love that. That would be so fun.
Me too.
Yeah, let's do it. I gotta go, Kate. You gotta go.
Okay. Yeah. So bye for now. We'll see you next week, and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of the week and weekend, everybody.
Being and doing. Come on. Bye, you guys. Bye, Katie.
Bye.